Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Cult Classic Society, the podcast where we watch movies, listen to music, watch TV shows, play games, read books, read comics, and just talk about it. I'm Tim Martin. I'm joined by my pal Bobby Davis. Say hello, Bobby.
Hello.
And yeah, today we're going to be talking about Wallace and Gromit. But first, Bobby, how have you been?
You know what? I'm good. I'm a little tired. I was at a wedding. We don't normally do this. We're recording in the morning, which is unusual. And I went to a wedding last night. So I'm a little tired. So I'm afraid, because, I'm normally the funny one with all the energy. That's got to be your job today. And you're normally the boring one who sits in the background. I'll do that today,
yeah. Hey, this is me post Pride as well. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how we're acting.
To be fair, right, we've actually picked like quite a good low energy thing. It's like the most fucking lovely thing we could have picked to do.
Yeah, we picked. I can't say I planned this. No, this wasn't tactical. I was just in a good mood to watch some good old fashioned stop motion animation.
I did. You know what? If it weren't for the wedding yesterday, I had a little plan for this episode. I didn't do it, right? And you've clicked on this. Whoever's listening, you've seen the title. We're doing Wallace and Gromit, and I was genuinely going to get cheese and crackers, and I just ran out of time. Didn't have any, so instead of cheese and crackers, I've got Pringles. So it's crunchy. Second best.
Some lovely ASMR content.
Yeah, enjoy that.
So I guess before we get into the episodes, I want to know, what's your history with Wallace and Gromit?
I mean, the original 3 short films, I've been watching them since I was a kid. The first one only came out the year after I was born, so really, my media lexicon has always included Wallace and Gromit to some degree. They're always on at Christmas. I've watched the first 3 a lot, a lot.
Especially what about the fourth one.
I'd only seen it once before. So I have this.
Oh wow!
It is on. Obviously, Wallace and Gromit is on iPlayer, but I thought there's some extras on here. There's all of it has director's commentary.
Oh, nice!
But it also has the full film, which is I didn't watch the full film until I bought this collection, and I watched it once. I didn't like it as much as the others. Spoiler. But I watched it again for this, and yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to the fourth one. It's weird to go and do an episode talking about 4 fucking films, but they're one of them's 23 minutes.
Yeah, and the rest is half an hour. Lovely short films.
Yes.
This is why we didn't do Custard Rare Rabbit.
Still one of the longer formats we've done. Although I suppose when we do music, if you add the album and the live show or whatever, that's normally 2 hours. But
yeah. I mean, the longest one we did was the John Wick trilogy.
Oh, fuck me, yeah. I'm glad you had to edit that one. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, we'll get right into this with A Grand Day Out, which, as a short, debuted in the Arno Philly Gallery in Bristol in the 4th of November 1989, then debuted in the United States in the 18th of May 1990, then finally got shown on Channel 4 on December 24th, 1990.
It does. I mean, that's appropriate that it premiered at Christmas, because even though it's not set at Christmas, it's something I associate with Christmas is watching Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah. It's weird in that sense, because I know Curse of the Were Rabbit, which is something that we're not going to be talking about, always gets shown around Christmas time.
Yeah, it does, yeah. The commentaries mentioned that they're working on a new project, and the commentaries were recorded in I think about 2010, 2009. So they were obviously talking about Curse of the Were Rabbit, but they don't say what it is. They do we're doing a feature length Wallace and Gromit. So okay,
yeah.
So you've got Nick Park, who's the kind of the main creator. He directs all of these as well. He actually created some of this film while he was at the National Film and Theatre School.
Oh wow!
So this is specifically the rocket building scene. He did that.
Well, why? Who was at school?
Well, university, really.
Well, uni, yeah.
But the film, the first one, took 7 years to make because he did it in little stints.
Yeah.
He actually had more planned, which I've got some notes written on what else he had planned for this film. But someone told him it was going to take him another extra 2 years on what it had already took if he wanted to finish the little thing he wanted to do. Because obviously stop motion takes a long time.
Yeah. But like even for like 1989, the stop motion there's like the claymation is incredible. Like they look really good. Like obviously they look, like Wallace himself looks a bit like rough around the edges, but for like 1989, like and for a person who's basically doing it over such a long period of time, it looks really good.
I think there's something quite aesthetically pleasing about it.
Yeah.
I think the fact that Wallace looks a bit rough and that he's got and all the characters have kind of thumbprints on them and stuff where they've been moved. There's something quite aesthetic about it, and the background is always the little sets are so well put together. I think as a whole, it looks great.
No, absolutely. But we go into their living room and they'll see it's a bank holiday, so they dream of the perfect holiday to do, which is insane for me. Like last minute holiday planning. I don't think I could ever do that.
I also think it's a thing that we don't do anymore as a country. Like the idea that the day before a bank holiday weekend. So we've got more of our listeners are actually in America than the UK, and I know that Americans are familiar with Wallace and Gromit, so we don't need to go into it too much. But we do need to go to bank holidays. So like 6 or 7 times a year, we get Mondays off, called a bank holiday, and then there's one Friday one every year as well at Easter. But it was such a British thing to go, right, bank holiday in a couple of days, where we're going to drive down to the seaside. We'll book into you would just walk up to a hotel and book in. It's madness, right? You like no pre-booking and stuff like that. You'd be like, okay, which seaside town are we going to drive down to Saturday morning? We'll all get up at 4 a.m. We'll drive down to the coast. We'll book into a random hotel. We'll drive back Monday afternoon. Lovely.
I don't think I could manage that.
Yeah, we don't do it anymore. It's such it's such a crazy thing. Like my mum's got all these stories of like her dad just bundling them all into a car and going, yeah, let's go.
Well, as they're dreaming of planning the perfect holiday, Wallace like, oh, we need to have some cheese and like with cheese and crackers, and just the iconic like crackers like design. Obviously, it's the one that we have in the UK.
It's based on the Jacobs crackers design.
Yeah.
The orange with the black kind of diamond shape. There's a few nods to real British brands in this. I've got another one that I'll show you later. What I love about this open is one, you get the music straight away.
The iconic
classic,
theme.
the classic Wallace and Gromit thing. It opens with it, but also the wallpaper and the aesthetic of the house is so kind of outdated British. So like even for 1989, I think this is probably a little outdated. It's more of a 70s aesthetic, which I think is what Nick Park was going for, because he does mention in the commentary that Wallace is kind of he didn't do it on purpose, but now he looks back at it, he can see what he's done. He kind of subconsciously based Wallace on his dad. Like he said his dad isn't as silly as Wallace, but he's got some of the traits.
Makes sense.
We should also mention that this was written by Nick Park as well, but also by someone called Steve Ruston. So they had 2 writers, but Nick also directed it.
Yeah, like this is pretty much a Nick Park creation, because he, as you said, works on every like Wallace and Gromit short and feature.
I think it's in the wrong trousers on the commentary. He's speaking to one of the other writers and one of the other art directors, and he talks about how like this is the first scene that I didn't do myself, and he was really like tetchy about it, and he like kept coming to check in on the guy who was doing it.
So they open their fridge and they see there's no cheese. So then Wallace eats a dry cracker, which, like, no, you gotta put something on there. Even if it's just like butter, you gotta put something on your cracker.
We get the classic line as well. When you said there's no cheese, he actually like one of the no cheese Gromit, and then they list off. Well, Wallace lists off. Gromit can't talk. Gromit's the dog, by the way.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Wallace is his owner. Gromit's the dog, and Wallace lists off places that they can get cheese if they go on holiday. Yeah. So most cheeses are kind of named after where they're produced. So he says like Lancashire, Cheddar, Wensleydale. Then he drops Philadelphia, which I don't know if was actually created in Philadelphia. But the last one is Tesco, which is obviously a supermarket. And then they look longingly at the moon. And Wallace says, everyone knows that the moon's made of cheese. The moon is made of cheese.
That is like ingrained in my mind. Like, I was sometimes like when like it's a full moon or something, I just look up and go, everyone knows the moon is made of cheese.
Does it ever make you want to go taste it?
No, no.
Well,
I'm not a special.
According to Doctor Who, the moon's a big egg, so you know.
We don't talk about that episode. We don't talk about that episode.
Do you know? I suppose you probably don't, because I only heard it on this commentary. I don't think it's super well known. But where Park got the names of Wallace and Gromit from?
No.
So, when he was creating the character, he saw an owner with a black Labrador on the bus, and the owner said the dog's name, and the dog's name was Wallace. So that's where he got that from. And apparently, a grommet is something to do with electrical wiring, and his brother's a spark. His brother's an electrician. So he would heard him say the word grommet and was like, yeah, that'll be the dog's name.
Okay. So this is actually when we found out that Wallace is an inventor, because he goes down into his cellar and he starts drawing up plans to build a spaceship. But first he plays a game of tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, noughts and crosses.
Yeah.
As we would call it, yeah.
Yeah. Then he starts designing the spaceship, and I love how he in this design he like draws space for both him and Gromit to like clearly understand how it would work.
Well, yeah, I like how some of he draws, like before he plays noughts and crosses, he does do another blueprint, and that looks really technical.
Yeah.
And then his final design for the rocket is just like a kid's drawing.
And I love like at the end where he's like drawing the spaceship, shooting off, goes. Vroom.
Yeah, he makes the noise of it taking off. Yeah. What I also love is that this basement is like a dungeon in a castle. It's so big, and we don't even really have basements in the UK, let alone this big cavernous space.
It's amazing. So then he starts soaring off like a door to like build like parts of the ship, and he soars through the legs. So he calls down Gromit, so he can use Gromit to be the like base.
The support. The so yeah, he had two supports for the door, and he soared through one of them. Did you notice what Gromit was reading?
Electronics for dogs.
Yeah, Gromit's the smart one. The dog is the intelligent one.
Yeah, that's the like running joke that like while Wallace is like intelligent, he's also just very like unaware and stupid in that sense.
Gromit has to put the finishing touches on everything, otherwise it won't work.
Yeah. So they're working together, they're hammering and sawing the ship.
Oh,
Gromit uses
that
a
scene,
drill that makes
the scene with the hammering and the sawing is so beautifully timed, because like, as the saw goes through, Gromit's waiting with the hammer, and then as it pulls back to reveal more nails, Gromit hammers them in.
And it's timed so perfectly.
Oh, it's so good. And I love when Wallace is doing hammering, the animation's so janky, like it's just one arm just going mental, and he's completely still otherwise.
And then Gromit gets a drill that he starts like drilling into ship, and just the drill makes him spin around.
Yeah, and then he does some welding. He's actually doing the hands-on work.
Yeah. I think the paint animation as well looks amazing, because it actually looks wet.
Yeah, so good. And then Wallace is at the top of the ship painting it, and Gromit's at the bottom with an umbrella so he doesn't get splashed.
Yeah.
This scene is the one he did at uni. It took him a year and a half.
It definitely like paid off though, because it's one of those like impressive scenes in the short.
It's such a good scene, yeah.
I love that like the interior of the ship is the same wallpaper as their living room.
Yeah, they literally done it up to look like their house. It's so funny. Like there's wicker chairs and everything.
I like that they have to like light a fuse to get the rocket to fly as well.
Oh, it's so lo-fi. It's great. It's so like a middle-aged British man.
Yeah,
transferring his house over.
It's retro tech.
Yeah, from the outside it looks great as well. Like it looks like a proper rocket. They've done a really good job. What I also like is obviously we always compare everything to Doctor Who, but there's definitely scenes in Doctor Who where he's had, especially you say like the 8th Doctor movie, where the TARDIS main console room looks like a study.
Yeah.
And then there's been like, what was it, New Earth? Or it's not New Earth, it's the follow-up to New Earth. What's the one with Martha where they're on the highway? Some of the people's... Gridlocks, yeah. Some of the people's cars look like living rooms as well.
Yeah.
I just love that.
That's because they were trapped there for hundreds of years.
Yeah, I just like that aesthetic though.
Yeah.
That kind of house aesthetic inside
yeah.
like a high-tech piece of equipment.
So they light their fuse to blast off. They have 60 seconds. The garden like moves apart and like bits of debris and like garden gnomes fall in. But then they realise they forgot the crackers.
And they had 60 seconds to spare, and they're using a wall clock to count this down, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
And Wallace makes a runner for it to go get the crackers, because otherwise, what's the point in this trip?
Yeah, exactly. So he like runs up there, sprints, puts like 5 packets of crackers in the bags, and he gets back in time with like 10 seconds to spare.
There's a few details on the lead up to that I really like. One, as Wallace first balls the ship, he's whistling, and if you need to tell me what you think, but I think I could hear this. It doesn't sound like it at first. So he's first climbing the ladder, he's just whistling, whistling, whistling. As the camera reverses inside the ship as he comes in the door, it sounds like he's doing the Imperial March. I might be wrong. See what you think. It feels like, because obviously this is kind of 12 years post Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he's done like a little nod. Because
Most
obviously they're going to
likely.
space, yeah.
Yeah. I
like
wouldn't
when
be surprised.
I like when Wallace also takes over the controls from Gromit. Gromit's clearly doing a good job already, and Wallace just goes, "Oh yeah, that looks great." And then he walks off with the headphones on, and it pulls him over. And then there's another British product type kind of placement, but not a placement. Wallace uses duck matches, which is
Yeah.
obviously a take on swan matches, which are the ones we have in the UK.
I love like how in the base of the world there's a bunch of like rats watching the takeoff.
Oh
And they
yeah,
put sunglasses on.
when the fire actually comes out of the base of the rocket, they
Yeah.
put their sunglasses on. It's adorable.
What's funny is like when the time it hits 0, the rocket doesn't take off yet, and it's because Gromit had the handbrake on.
Yeah, he had plenty of time to get those crackers, really.
Oh yeah. So they're in space now. They're flying through the air. Wallace is trying to build a house of cards. And
Gromit.
Gromit, yeah. Such basic names, and somehow I was
Yeah.
getting confused. So Gromit's there building a house of cards, and Wallace is there twiddling his thumbs because space is kind of boring sometimes. We're just slowly traveling through there.
I just don't think he was prepared like Gromit with something to do. It's like these
He takes
people at
a
the minute.
photo.
He's raw dogging that flight like these people at the minute are doing. With like no in-flight entertainment.
Poor bastard. He takes a photo with a large flash, like clearly they're setting up for Gromit to like knock down the house of cards. They make like toast in the ship, which is
I love
kind
that
of
there's a
incredible.
toaster in the console. It's so good.
Yeah. So they get to the moon, and Wallace tries to land the ship, and it's a bumpy landing, so the house of cards just falls down immediately.
Poor Gromit.
I know. So they get onto the moon. Wallace throws a ball up, but because of the low gravity, it just doesn't come back down.
What I love is that they're not wearing spacesuits. They're not moving slowly at all, but the ball is affected
know.
by the lack of gravity.
Literally, my next note was, how are they breathing?
Yeah. Well, screw claymating and spacesuits as well. Fuck that.
Exactly. So they sit down for their picnic, and they cut off a bit of the moon and try the cheese.
I like how Wallace like ponders. It's like, it's not Wensleydale, it's not Stilton, and he doesn't seem to like it. So it's like, shall we try somewhere else?
Yeah. I feel like the joke was meant to be that it's not cheese.
I think so as well. I hadn't considered that until I watched it this time either.
Because obviously, yeah, the moon is not made of cheese. Just in case people are wondering that.
It's basically a big rock, so he's like just sitting there chewing rock. Though
Yeah.
he does cut it like butter, so I don't know what they're saying it's made of.
So as they're walking, they find like a vending machine on the moon, and Wallace puts in a 10p coin, but nothing happens. So they walk away, and it turns out it's a robot that is coin operated, which is a very peculiar thing.
Very.
So then the robot sees the picnic set up and he goes over there, and he just pockets the cup, the plate, and like the teapot.
Yeah, he like completely robs the picnic. What I also loved in the commentary was this is the thing that he had to cut down on that was going to take another 2 years, because originally he wanted Wallace and Gromit to find like a bar/cantina full of robots and aliens on the moon, and instead he's ended up with this robot that's based on a cooker or a gas boiler.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the idea of just like robot, just like you have like no explanation for why it's there. But I see it like as the moon security guard.
Yeah, well, he's a bit of like he's got like a policeman's truncheon and stuff.
Yeah. So as he's also at the picnic site, he sees the skiing magazine that Wallace brought with him, and now the robot has dreams of skiing. And I love like you see like the thought bubble appear, and it's like in like old timey video static,
Like a black and white TV. Yeah.
yeah, and it plays like an old lo-fi version of the Wallace and Gromit theme, yeah. And then it sees like a piece of the moon has been cut off, so he just glues it back on, which is I didn't know you could just do that on the moon.
No, well, the robot's got his own ideas, and he's like, yeah, you know what, this needs to go back.
It spots the rocket, so it goes towards there, and it writes up a ticket, like a parking ticket.
I love that bit. It's so funny.
And it sees that the rocket. Then it sees that the rocket is leaking oil, so he tries to use his telescope to find like who are the owners of the ship.
Who is responsible for this?
And that's where it spots Wallace eating the moon. So he pulls out a billy club and gets ready to dispense some justice.
Hardcore justice.
But as the robot's right behind Wallace and it's about to hit him, the power level just like stops, and it stops like right above Wallace's head.
He runs out of money.
And what I love is like Gromit is just watching this. It's like not, it like doesn't like do anything to like warn Wallace.
I think sometimes he's sick of Wallace's shit, if I'm honest with you.
I mean, we'll see in later episodes how much of a dick Wallace is.
Yeah, he's a bit like Homer, isn't he? He's jerk-ass Wallace.
Yeah. But I still love how Wallace still hits his head on the billy club.
Yeah, he deserved that one sometimes. For stuff he's going to do later, he deserved that one.
But he takes the club anyway, puts another coin in the robot, powering it up, and just like takes like a bunch of the cheese with him. So I think he's become a fan of it.
Yeah, he obviously likes it. Park said on that commentary again, he's not sure. He couldn't think of a logical explanation why Wallace gave another 10p to the robot, considering the first 10p he put in, he complained about doing it as he walked off.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe he's decided that he does like the cheese and he's like just stimulating the local economy.
So then the robot wakes up again and it looks around, and that's when it sees the rocket and Wallace and Gromit head towards it, and it starts thinking about the ski dream again. So he chases after Wallace and Gromit, but then Wallace and Gromit see this like massive like robot like speeding towards them, so they think they're in danger.
What I like about the first shot of that though is the rocket is pointing upwards directly at the Earth. So the tip of the rocket is pointing at Earth. So he's like, it's going there.
So Wallace and Gromit like panicking, going, how do we get out here? And the robot is like cutting its way into the ship.
What I love about that,
accidentally cuts the fuel line.
What I love about that is the robot's like, I just want to come with you, and they're like, run away.
Yeah. And then they realise, oh no, we left the matches like downstairs. We didn't light the match to start the fuse. And then the robot sees the matches, so it just lights one and accidentally makes the rocket fly and shoots out.
So yeah, what he does is it's dark in the room that he's in, and he like kind of feels around and finds the matches. He lights them to try and see, and he's right next to the fuel canister. And it's just like, obviously you don't see it, but it like blows up. You see him fly out of the hole that he created to climb in, and then the rockets slowly take off.
Yeah, but as he's doing it, he's holding on to like the side of like the door, and then when he finally like gets knocked off, he rips off the panels, and so he's able to like fashion his skis out of the ship parts.
What was so sad about this bit, he like, kind of blows away and he rolls back on his little wheels, and he's got these two the two bits of metal in his hands. He just drops them on the floor and he like blows his nose, doesn't he, somehow, looking all upset. And then he realises, like you said, he's got these two strips of metal, and he's like, hang on a minute. And he makes the skis, and then as he goes skiing over the mountains on the moon, he sees Wallace and Gromit taking off, and he's like, bye.
And Wallace and Gromit, they like wave back. It's like, misunderstanding. But the thing about that is like the robot's coin operator is probably going to like depower in a minute.
Well, first time Wallace put in 10p, and the second time he put in 10p as well, so I don't know, yeah. I was going to say maybe he put in £1, but we don't. We see him we see the meter go to 10p.
He's got another short life ahead of him.
Yeah, apparently Nick Park's kids saw this and they were really sad because the robot was still on his own.
Oh. Yeah, that's a grand day out.
Well, there's another little bit. So they're in the ship, and they've got their basket full of moon cheese, and this is where Wallace actually says the address for the first time. He says set coordinates for 63 Wallaby Way. Yeah, whatever. No, sorry, that's Finding Nemo. Sorry, I'm getting cool. He says set coordinates for 63 West Wallaby Street, which sounds Aussie anyway, like Nemo. So yeah, this film took 7 years to make.
It was worth every second, honestly. It's incredible.
I don't know about you, but this like really sparked my imagination as a kid. Like the idea that the living room could be like a cockpit for a ship.
Oh yeah, I could. And it's honestly just craven. Also, I don't know about you, maybe just want a dog because of just how expressive Gromit is. Like, as if he has like no line of dialogue.
Yeah, there's a bit later on where like he's got so much expression, and he doesn't speak. You can kind of still get how he's feeling.
Yeah.
Apparently, there was nearly some dialogue recorded for him. Well, no, in fact, there was dialogue recorded for him, and Park didn't like it, so he just like decided to go with him being silent.
I'm glad that's the choice they made.
Yeah, me too. I don't think it'd have been as iconic if he did an impression as well. It was like a silly cartoon voice, fucking like Poochie.
Oh God, no, it wouldn't have worked. So next we have The Wrong Trousers, which aired in America on the 17th December 1993, and then here in the UK on December 26th, 1993.
We got it after
BBC Two.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah, I know. It's our thing.
And they complained about us getting Star Wars like 3 days early a couple of years ago. How dare they?
We get Star Wars, we get all the Marvel movies as well. We get all those days early because they use us for tax breaks.
Yeah. So this was directed by Nick Park again and written by Park and someone else called Bob Baker and Brian Sibley. We didn't say actually who Wallace is voiced by, and it's kind of iconic. His name's Peter Sallis, and he's known for doing Last of the Summer Wine, that kind of sitcom starring old people. And he's always been the voice of Wallace, so yeah.
Well, not always, because there's a Wallace and Gromit game made by Telltale.
Oh yeah?
And it's not him.
Does it not sound like him either?
It sounds like a lower version of him.
I don't know if I could play that.
It's really weird. Like I played a bit of it before this recording because I want to try, because it was my own extra credit.
Some multimedia.
Yeah, and yeah, it was not good.
No, that sounds awful. Fuck that.
So the short opens up with like a lower tone version of the theme, because then it transitions like a little horror one with The Wrong Trousers.
What I love about this intro is they've got some new decorations on their wall, and it's 3 rockets that look like their rocket.
Yeah.
And then you said it does like the proper Hammer horror style, The Wrong Trousers.
Yeah. And it's only been a couple of years, but the animation already looks cleaner.
Oh, so much better already. You can tell there's a bit of cash behind this one.
Yeah. Especially they have the BBC helping them now.
Yeah.
So it's Gromit's birthday.
Oh, I love how he circles the calendar and then crosses it off.
Yeah. But Wallace is still asleep, so
jerk ass Wallace.
Honestly.
Gromit goes and gets the post, and he's got one card in there, and it's a musical card, and he seems fucked off to have it. He's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I love how there's already foreshadowing with the train set.
I love the train set. Even at this stage, you're like, oh, there's a little train set they've got going around the house, and it doesn't feel like a setup. It feels like that's something Wallace and Gromit would build in their house.
Yeah. So, as you said, he gets a card, and the card plays for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow."
Yes. Back when Happy Birthday was still not in public domain, which it now is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never heard anyone actually sing for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow."
No, me either.
On his birthday.
I suppose this was 93, though. Maybe they were a bit more common back then.
Also, Wallace asking for breakfast on Gromit's birthday, such a dick move.
What a prick. So they've got that setup of like the buzzers, and Wallace is like, it's breakfast, it's porridge today, or is that what he says? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, it's toast. It's toast. This one. It's porridge in the next film. Yeah, and Gromit pulls the lever down in the dining room, and the classic bed tips up. Wallace slides through the floor through an open thing, and he lands through his trousers and stuff.
Yeah, like this is when they up the inventor aspect of it. Like now, every part of their life is pretty much automated thanks to his inventions.
I feel like, you know, all those social media videos where like it's a marble and then it's dominoes and then it's something bigger and it flips. It feels like that was inspired by Wallace and Gromit.
Oh yeah, yeah. So they have lots of bills because, I mean, obviously considering how much money they probably spend on electricity.
Yeah, there's a little line as well. Wallace says entry's a little bit painful, and I was like, he means his balls, because he lands in his trousers.
I love it because like Wallace is like so focused on the bills. Gromit like starts playing the "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow" card, and the battery just immediately dies.
Yeah, he doesn't recognise what's going on.
Wallace goes to get money at the piggy bank, and they only have 3 coins.
There's a really funny joke about that. It's like he takes a painting off the wall. You don't really pay attention. He opens the safe, and it's a piggy bank in the safe. Then when he closes the safe and puts the picture back up, the picture is of a piggy bank.
Yeah.
So that's secure.
Wallace goes, I do know it's your birthday, lad, and here's a present, and it's a collar and leash.
Oh, it's on the 905, he says as well, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah.
And the train comes by. The little toy train.
And, well, the collar and leash is only part of the present, because then in comes the robot legs, which just immediately scares the hell out of Gromit. He's backing up into a corner.
Oh, God, he proper shits himself, doesn't he? It is like a proper scene in a horror. It's like fucking Freddy Krueger or Jason or the Scream Ghost is like coming at him, and he's like,
yeah. And it's such a piece of shit thing from Wallace because he's made these legs so then he can just automate Gromit being taken for a walk.
Oh no, he didn't make them. He says they're techno trousers and they're ex NASA. So he's.
I thought the whole idea that he made them from ex-NASA parts.
Or maybe he does say something about ex-NASA, but yeah, it's a proper jerk-ass move. So he put.
But what I love is I was gonna say Gromit already outsmarts it when he goes on outside. He just attaches it to other things so he can just do his own thing.
It's like a toy dog on wheels, isn't it? So the trousers are walking this toy dog, and Gromit just goes on like a slide at a local park. And then when he comes back,
he literally says,
"Go on."
I was gonna say literally in the park it says dogs must be on leashes.
And he's just sliding down the slide.
Yeah.
What I do like though is by the time he comes back, he's put it back on, but he's sat on like a little trolley, and it's just like being pulled along.
So when they get back, they Gromit sees that Wallace decides to rent out the spare room, and almost immediately a fashionable young penguin enters.
Why is he fashionable?
That's literally how I wrote it in my notes.
Why is he fashionable? What are you talking about?
Because he has a little briefcase with him.
Oh, is that all it takes for you, Tim?
Look, he's clearly just a polite gentleman. Okay, this penguin looks like he's done nothing wrong.
We don't hear it. We don't learn his name till the end of the film, but it's Feathers McGraw.
Yeah. So Wallace shows Feathers the room, and it's just terrible. Like it's completely dingy. So he immediately goes into Gromit's room.
He's like, "I'll take
sits
this."
down on the bed. It's like just relaxing. It's like, yeah, this is my room.
And then he sees they decorate. Sorry, so when that happens, obviously now where's Gromit going to sleep? So they decorate the spare room, and to help decorate, Gromit puts on the trousers, the mechanical trousers that we used to take him for a walk, the wrong trousers or the techno trousers, as Wallace calls them. But they've also got like suction pads on the bottom, so he can walk up the wall. Then he walks onto the ceiling, and he's hanging upside down on the ceiling using suspenders, which are apparently Wallace's, and he's using like a paint roller to paint the ceiling upside down.
It is clever.
And then Feathers comes in and sees the trousers. He's like, "Ooh, ideas.
Just staring at them. And then so it's nighttime now, and Feathers is just playing loud music, and it's like so disturbing that Gromit like moves from his room to the living room, then to outside
Into the doghouse. And then he cries, and it's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know.
Poor Gromit.
But then this is when we see the penguin has been outside the entire time. He comes back in.
Such a dick move. That's worse than anything else he does.
Yeah.
As someone who at uni, one of my second year flat, one of my neighbours used to play loud music all the fucking time, and there's always me like fucking knocking on his door, being like, "Shut up, you prick!" And as someone who's had to deal with people doing that, such a dick move.
I know. So then it comes to the morning, and they're having cornflakes, but it's spelled like the band Koin.
That's funny. They wouldn't have even been around then either.
No, that's it. So it was just like in hindsight, it's a fun reference.
Yes. Did you notice that when Gromit is queuing for the bathroom in the morning, waiting for obviously Feathers to get out, he's got bags under his eyes.
Yeah.
So they actually like in the clay put like little bags under his eyes so that he looks tired. Bless him.
I know. And so then the Feathers tries to act more helpful around the house, to obviously win Wallace over. So he starts putting the slippers on Wallace's feet and then grabs the newspaper before Gromit can.
Such a dick.
And so it gets to nighttime again, and Wallace and Feathers are just having wine and cheese.
Oh, having cheese without Gromit, what a knob.
I know. What? So then Gromit sees this, so he just like packs up and leaves.
What I love,
he has a little raincoat on.
There's a few things I love about this scene. When Gromit goes into the doghouse, it's got the same wallpaper as his bedroom, but there's also like books and everything on the wall. So he's got this tiny little like outdoor bedroom, proper, not just like a piece of wood. I love it. And then the other thing I love is that he makes a bindle.
Yeah.
Like a proper old school like, American kind of movie style homeless person's bindle. So it's like the stick with the napkin on the end.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then, like you said, he puts on his little yellow raincoat and goes for a walk in the rain.
Again, crying.
Yeah, Feathers sees him leave and he's happy about this.
He's going, good.
Did you notice, so Feathers now gets out a book. Did you see what it was?
No, what was it?
It was the Electronics for Dogs book, again. But it was a different colour. So in the first film it's blue, and in this film it's red.
It's the second edition.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like the updated version. And then he looks at the trousers, the techno trousers, and gets the drill out. We're like, oh no.
Yeah, he starts to work on them. So the next morning, Gromit is just sleeping in a bin.
Oh, bless me. I love the fact that he's still got an alarm clock.
I know.
Like, where you got to be, dude?
So Wallace gets dropped out of bed into the wrong trousers, and they just immediately start going haywire, and he just like starts like running amok around town.
What's really great is this is actually where, because obviously the name of the film is The Wrong Trousers. This is where he says the name of the film. He's like, no, it's The Wrong Trousers, Gromit. Not realising that Gromit's gone, which is another jerk-ass move.
Yeah.
We see Gromit looking for another bedroom, like to somewhere to stay, and they all say like no dogs. Bless him.
And then he spots a wanted poster of a chicken
for a quote-unquote
who looks quite
chicken.
familiar.
Yes.
No, it's just a chicken. I don't know why they focus on it so much. So Wallace is again just still running amok through town and starts asking Gromit for help.
He's asking where the control panel's gone because it's been removed from the front of the trousers.
Yeah. And that's when Gromit spots Feathers using the controls.
Yeah, and he starts tailing him.
So Wallace gets tired out. So
I've never put this. I've watched this film loads of times. I never put two and two together. The reason Feathers took Wallace around the town wasn't just to randomly be a dick. It was to tire him out so he'd sleep.
Yeah.
Through the next part of the movie.
Yeah, it's actually clever.
Yeah. I hadn't even considered that as a younger person watching this.
So this allows Feathers to roam around the town, and Gromit starts tailing him again, and sees that the penguin is outside of it's a museum, right?
It is a museum, yeah.
Yeah. And sees how Feathers is plotting. He's measuring the size of the wall and the window.
I love the bit where he puts the tape measure up onto a windowsill So he like extends it so the little hook on the end of the tape measure hooks on the windowsill, then he presses the retract button, and because he's so little it lifts him up.
Yeah. Basically bungees himself up. It's great.
So good.
And what I love is Gromit is sneaking around in a cardboard box, almost like a solid snake.
I've written in my notes, Gromit goes full solid steak.
At least you're a solid snake as well. So what I love is a moment when Gromit thinks Ferris has spotted him because of the eye holes. But it's because from the box looks like a dog as well.
Yeah, so the box is for like a dog treat or something. So it's got a cartoon of a dog on the front, and the eye holes that Gromit's cut out happen to just be the eye holes for the dog.
Yeah. So Gromit returns home and sees that the wallpaper in his room has been changed like fishes.
Not only that, the doggy door is now penguin shaped.
Yeah. It's all been within like a day.
Yeah. He also finds the blueprints for the museum, specifically for the diamond exhibit.
Yeah. So Gromit hides under Wallace because Feathers has come back, and that's when we see that Feathers is the chicken.
Dun dun dun!
He has like a rubber glove on his head.
It's like a red rubber glove to make him look like a cockerel, essentially.
Yeah. So Feathers starts controlling Wallace again while he's sleeping. And what I love is he, because as the way the heaviness of the trousers makes the door slam, and it makes the bed fall down.
Yeah, it makes the switch go, doesn't it? So the automated system to get Wallace up and dressed in the morning goes off, and Gromit's like clinging to the bed, and then he falls through, and he ends up in Wallace's clothes, but backwards.
Yeah, and then jam just hits him in the face.
Yeah, he gets a face full of jam because the toast and jam maker doesn't have any toast in the toaster yet, because obviously, clearly Gromit sets that up.
Yeah. So Feathers uses Wallace to break into the museum, so they climb up the wall and then through this like massive air vent.
Yeah, it's so huge, and Wallace stays asleep the whole time.
Yeah. And so he's being used to walk across the ceiling, and there's like a nice tense moment where he stops right before he hits the security laser, and Feathers has to wait until Wallace like yawns and like almost like bends up to quickly go across.
And he like steps really quickly to get him through it. Yeah, so good. I like that the way they get the diamond. So he stands Wallace above it, and it comes out of a helmet that he's put on Wallace, like a claw machine that you get at an arcade. Yeah. And it comes out, and he nearly drops the diamond, and it catches it again. Apparently, that was one of the hardest things to animate, because the diamond itself is like millimeters, and they obviously had to find ways of moving it and hanging it. So they're actually using like they couldn't use wires because you'd see them, so they use like little pieces of glass.
Really? Wow. Yeah. I love how the animation of like Feathers sweating as well.
He's like, oh god, that was close.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, you go because
I was going to say one of the ceiling tiles comes loose when he suctions to it, and that's what breaks the alarm. It's like because you kind of get the little build up to it. Where some of them start to look loose as he moves across them. Then this is the one because he stays there for too long. It comes loose, and Wallace swings through one of the lasers.
Yeah. So the alarm goes off, and that finally wakes Wallace up. And it's a cool moment of how Feathers is able to get him out. So he gets Wallace to the window, and he uses the heaviness and the momentum to swing the window open and get Wallace out on the other side.
Yeah, so he uses the weight of the trousers to spin the window out. What I did find funny was that the first thing that Wallace does when he realises something weird's going on is he calls for Gromit, which is not a usual pet owner dynamic.
No. But we all know that Gromit is the more responsible one.
Yes, yeah.
I love how when Feathers is taking Wallace home, there's a moment where Wallace goes, "It's definitely not legal, this."
He says, "I'll get my solicitor." It's like, you're broke, mate. You ain't got a solicitor.
And it's just a bit when they get home, and Feathers takes the cap off. He goes, "Oh goodness, it's you!"
I love that bit. Like, how stupid is Wallace?
So he puts Wallace in the closet. And
that
this
reminds
is my
me.
favourite.
That reminds me, Tim. Speaking of putting someone in the closet, I've got a game we can play later.
We can go for it. And then this bit, it's my favourite bit in the entire episode, and just the animation. So Feathers turns around and sees Gromit with a rolling pin. And then Feathers just pulls out a revolver.
It's proper.
And Gromit just immediately puts his hands up.
I think that's inspired by Indiana Jones. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's the bad guy swirling the sword around and Indy just pulling out a gun and shooting him.
Yeah. It's just so hilarious though, because like you wouldn't expect a gun out of all things, considering everything that's been happening. Just for it to be so nonchalant, yeah, I got a gun.
Also the fact that it's like Bristol in the UK, a West Country little town. No, Bristol's a city, but it's still very small.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just wouldn't expect it.
So Gromit puts so Feathers puts Gromit in the closet too with Wallace, but then Gromit immediately starts rewiring the trousers so they're able to like
Hotwires them,
get the trousers marching. Yeah, hotwires. So they're able to break out of the closet, and this is when we then have the big train chase.
Oh, this scene is... I can't believe how good this scene is. They make it look so dramatic, and it happens in, like, the ground floor of their little house that has, like, 3 rooms. And it's so good.
Like, there's just so much, like, to cover in it. Like, Gromit constantly being having to change tracks to keep on top of Feathers. The moment, like, Wallace is balancing on 1 foot on a single train cart.
I love that. Feathers actually starts trying to shoot them as well. So like Gromit jumps up and he hangs onto the light fixture and the light fixture gets shot down. Then he actually shoots at Gromit, but Gromit's got the lamp cover on his head, and it somehow deflects the bullets.
And then there's like Wallace is on the other train track and he tries to like catch Feathers with a net, but he gets caught by the moose's head.
Yeah, and then Feathers is about to escape. He's clearly set this up in advance. The train track actually heads outside through the new penguin door, but just as the train's about to go that way, Gromit pulls the lever and changes the track so it goes left. Yeah, it keeps the chase going.
And then Feathers disconnects the front of the train from the rest and then separates the lines. And Gromit's track is about to end, but he quickly grabs a spare part and rapidly builds a new train line just to catch up with him.
Literally, he's building like I feel like this one has done the rounds online a bit as well, with Gromit building the track just in front of the train.
Yeah. It's incredible.
It feels like such a good action sequence, and you forget that it's just basically in like the 2 rooms of the house, the downstairs, the kitchen, and the living room, in this tiny house, and the penguin and the dog are just clinging onto this tiny train.
Yeah, it's honestly just so creative. So then Feathers finally gets knocked off the track by the trousers, and as that's happening, Wallace and Gromit are sliding into the kitchen, and then they knock down a glass bottle, which they're able to use to catch Feathers.
It's so good, yeah. Feathers gets launched into the air, and Gromit catches him in a glass bottle, which is the same shape as him, because obviously he's just got like this long neck and head, and then like a fat body, which kind of resembles a bottle.
Oh, that's so perfect.
I love that they then deliver him to the police station, and it looks like he ends up in jail, but he doesn't. He's in the zoo.
Zoo, yeah. And they were able to get rewards money from this.
Yes, so that kind of negates their money worries that they've been having. And this is also where we see Feathers' his real name.
Yeah, Feathers McGraw.
It's on the paper that Wallace is reading.
And then the short ends with them like putting the trousers in the bin, but they reactivate, and then they're just walking down the street with a bin can on top of them.
Yeah, so they're gone. And we see Wallace and Gromit have cheese and crackers, and Wallace says he loves Gorgonzola. So in the commentary they say, oh, the reason they ended up choosing Wensleydale as his main cheese is because they thought they could, like, the way they animate his mouth could be funnier.
Yeah.
So they make his mouth really wide when he says it. And I was like, but there were 2 movies in, and there's only been 1 mention of Wensleydale, and it was in a list.
I know. But I think him saying Wensleydale was actually quite iconic.
Yeah, I think by the time we get through these shorts, he does say it a bit more. But yeah, it must be the feature-length movie where it becomes like the definite cheese they like.
Yeah, I think it definitely is in Curse of Were Rabbits, because that's like one of the big things around it, just being obsessed with cheese.
Yeah.
But I think this is, out of the four we're going to talk about, this is the best short.
Oh, oh, I have trouble picking between this and A Grand Day Out. They're my two favourites for sure. Very much depends. There's something quite quaint about A Grand Day Out that I really love.
Yeah.
It feels simpler. In terms of actually maximising your minutes and telling a story, The Wrong Trousers. But there's just something so twee and lovely about A Grand Day Out.
I just find this one just to be so iconic, and like Feathers McGraw just to be such, for like a character that has like no dialogue, to be such an incredible villain.
Oh yeah, he's so good. So menacing as well.
Like so good that almost, over like 30 years later, they're finally bringing him back in a feature film.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that actually. I'll definitely be watching that. What I will say is that they managed to give him such a menacing expression. Actually, his expression doesn't change. He's just got these like piercing black eyes, and that's all. He like keeps a straight face basically.
Yeah, because he has no mouth as well.
No.
So then, 2 years later, on December 24th, 1995, we have A Close Shave.
Again, directed by Park, written by Park as well, and also Bob Baker, who helped write The Wrong Trousers.
Okay, so we've got the Dream Team back.
Yes.
So there's no theme song to start this episode.
It's the only one that doesn't, I think.
No, I think it's the same with...
Is it A Matter of Life and Death?
Matter of Life and Death,
oh, okay.
yeah. So something is making the house shake really violently, and it turns out to be a van with sheep outside.
Yes.
And one of the sheep breaks out and sneaks into Wallace and Gromit's house. And we see this like menacing dog going to follow the sheep, but gets stopped by its owner. It's like already a tense mystery to be solved.
Yes, we're already establishing who the bad guys might be. By the way, I already call the sheep by its name straight away.
I like to build it up.
In my notes, I won't say it yet, but in my notes I wrote his name straight away because obviously we know it, and he went on to have a very successful series himself.
Yeah. No, I wrote it up until the moment he is named.
Oh, okay.
So the next morning, Wallace goes down the hole for breakfast. He now has a porridge machine.
Oh, we do see though when the sheep goes through the doggy door, it pans up and we see that Wallace and Gromit are now running a window cleaning business.
They always have a new business.
Yeah. What's that phrase? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. And Wallace is clearly a master of nothing.
Yes, he really is.
So they now have a porridge machine, which, of course, always needs working on. Because it just keeps rapid firing the porridge
at
Wallace's
Wallace's face, yeah.
And the porridge looks amazing.
Oh, the animation is great.
But this mishap might have been his fault, because it turns out one of the wires of the porridge machine has been chewed through. And
what I love is that in this scene, you see the sheep walk behind Gromit as they're looking around. He's just like, do 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 do.
So the sheep is just like, I'm just going to eat.
Keeps eating everything. And then Wallace sets himself up in the lounge, puts his feet on his footrest, and doesn't realise that he's actually put his feet on the sheep.
Yeah. So they get a call from the wool shop, and they're asking for a window cleaning job. So they get ready to go. And they now have a tandem bike.
What I love is how they get to the bike. So they do kind of like the wake up machine and Dress Wallace. Sorry, there's an even crazier one now, and in the commentary they said this is based on Thunderbirds, which I can really see if you watch the original Thunderbirds. But yeah, like Wallace gets sent down all these chutes and slides, and it puts on like all his waterproof gear. And then he drops him on the bike, ready to go. And the best bit about this is there's a really convoluted way for him to get to the bike. And then Gromit just walks through the side door and jumps on.
Yeah.
So silly. It's like, Gromit's like, I don't care about all this shit. Let's just go.
No. So they get to the wool shop, and then this is where we see that it's owned by the two people from the opening. Because we just see that evil dog, Preston, just staring at Gromit.
Yeah, as Gromit's cleaning the windows, which I really love. He like pole vaults using the ladder up, and then sets up a bungee system where he jump like bungees up and down, cleaning the windows. It's beautiful.
Say the soap like foam looks amazing as well.
Yeah, that was apparently made with hair gel and little glass beads. So there you go.
Oh, incredible. So Wallace meets the lady, and she just looks like a female him.
Wendeline Ramsbottom.
And she just looks like a female him, so he's in love.
Oh yeah, he's there's a hint of like egomania there. It's just him with like women's hair.
I was gonna say it's like Millhouse's parents.
Oh, it really is, yeah.
So he pulls like a ball of, because like now he's just like trying to be very nice and cutesy, but he pulls a ball of wool from a tower and just makes the entire tower fall over.
He's like charmingly befuddled, like Hugh Grant would be.
Yeah.
At this point, I made a note of the animation because I think if you were to compare this lit side by side with Grand Day Out, you would see how big the jump has been in 7 years.
Yeah. So as Gwendolyn's talking to Wallace, just basically distracting him, Preston goes to Wallace and Gromit's house because he remembers where he saw the sheep go in.
Yes. Wallace points out that Gwendolyn's reading a paper that has something about sheep rustlers on it. It's just, I hope they catch them soon. You guys have plenty of wool, don't you? Like, come on,
he
Wallace.
doesn't put two and two together, does he?
No, he does not.
So this is when we find out that the dog belonged to Gwendolyn's father and that he was also an inventor.
Yes, and they start to have their little bonding moment.
And he's such an idiot, he walks into the glass door.
Classic Wallace.
So we cut back to the house and we see that Preston notices the wall on the doggy door, so he knows that the sheep is in the house.
He's very... Considering how many we see later, how many sheep they've taken, he's very persistent over this one scrawny little sheep as well.
Yeah, considering what he wants to use his sheep for in the end, it's not really needed.
Waste of time.
So Wallace and Gromit come back, so he sneaks into the cellar, and Wallace and Gromit just find out that the whole place has been completely chewed up.
Yeah, by Sean, not by Preston.
Yeah,
this little sheep has wrecked everything.
So they finally find the sheep in the kitchen, and he's like just covered in like, I don't know if it's like sauces or paint or whatever.
It looks like ketchup and mustard.
Yeah. So they take the sheep down to the cellar where Wallace has his big knitting machine.
The Knit-O-Matic.
Which I don't understand why he needs it.
He's for story convenience and plot.
So they use the machine to wash up the sheep and Preston.
It's got a wash setting, and they say they've tested it on Gromit before, and Gromit just looks at them and goes, "Yep."
Traumatized.
Yeah. So
Preston watches like the machine, seeing how it operates, and the machine accidentally goes onto the light shave function. So the sheep gets sucked up into the machine, gets sheared, and then it fashions a jumper out of the sheep's wool.
Yeah, nice little sweater.
And what I love is when the sheep comes out, it gets a plaster on its butt.
Yeah, it's got a little nick. Oh, what I like is that he comes out and he shivers, and they put the jumper on him. And that creates
kind of dark.
It creates the look though, doesn't it? Because that is Sean's look forever now. Like he goes on and has a side series, and he's still got the jumper on.
Yeah. So as you've alluded to, this is the infamous Shaun the Sheep.
Yes. Oh yeah, sorry, they're about to name him. Sorry.
Yeah, they name him Shaun, and yeah, this is the same Shaun the Sheep from the TV show and movies. This is where he got his start.
So the reason he's called Shaun the Sheep is a pun, obviously, and because of the way we say Shaun, it's like a past tense version of to shear. But apparently that didn't translate immediately in America because the way they say Shaun doesn't sound like something's been sheared.
Yeah.
Preston,
have you watched much Shaun the Sheep?
No, it's aimed at like kids, isn't it? Like
it was after your time.
Yeah, sort of like 4 and 5 year olds though, as opposed to Wallace, which is kind of a full family.
But what's like this was like CBBC show, not like CBBS. So it would be on. It debuted when I was like, in year 4 or 5 in primary school.
No,
so it was like
it came out in the early 2000s, not 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like it caught me just at the right time, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, you say here, Preston, it was where he was watching from was a drain, and he pops up and he steals the blueprints for the Nitomatic.
So they go back to this is when we'll see Sean is now wearing the jumper made of his wool, and they're taking Sean with him now when they go to clean the clock tower.
So they've got a job to clean the clock tower in the local town, and they use the porridge gun, but use it to fire soap.
Yeah.
Did you notice there's a pun on the box of powder they use?
No, what was it?
It's called Sud You Like, which is obviously like the British chain of potato-based takeaways called Spud You Like.
See, I never knew about Spud You Like. So
there is one in Bromley, but it's quite old-fashioned. They kind of almost died of death in the 90s. But at this point, they were still culturally relevant.
I was gonna say like now not so much.
No,
it's like Wimpy's, you know. There's like maybe 3.
I'll tell you this, mate. Wimpy is underrated. If you see a Wimpy, mate,
oh yeah,
and you're a vegetarian, aren't you? Go in and get their veggie burger. It's fucking delicious.
Oh no, I've had it. It was incredible.
So good. Expensive though. That is the only thing about Wimpy. But yeah.
Yeah, but you know, if there's not that many left, go support them.
Yes, indeed. There's actually quite a few around. I know there's one in Morden, I think in South London. I definitely know there's one in Romford.
There's one in Lewisham, I know that.
Oh, don't go to Lewisham.
Don't go to Bromley.
Nah, Bromley's all middle class and gentrified. Fine.
So Wallace goes back. So the clock tower's right by the wool shop. So Wallace goes back to talk to Wendelin. And Sean goes behind the shop, presumably trying to find his sheep brethren.
Yeah, he senses them.
And so now he's inside the buildings somehow.
I feel like once he kind of wandered down that side bit, that Preston comes out and grabs him.
Oh yeah, that's probably most likely what happened. So Gromit spots Sean's like through a little hole in the wall, so he gets the ladder, climbs up and puts his head in the hole, and then the flash of a photo goes off,
and we see that the hole is actually in a painting, and the painting is of a butcher attacking a sheep. When I say attacking, butchering a sheep.
Yeah. So this is when Gromit finds a van full of sheep, so he opens it up and all the sheep run out and they basically cock block Wallace.
yes they do. They destroy the wool shop as he's still trying to get his chat on with Wendelin, and we cut back to the lorry, and Sean's just like chained into the front end of the lorry. So Preston works quick.
Yeah, he's efficient.
Yeah.
So Gromit quickly runs to untie Sean, but as that's happening, Preston's driving away and closing up the van, but Sean is able to escape just in time. But Preston drives Gromit to the police station.
Yes, and hands him in as the sheep rustler that's been on the papers, obviously using the photo to set him up.
And Wallace just immediately believes that Gromit is guilty.
So yeah, that's another reason that he's a jerk ass, and also the police are dumb. That is what's the circumstantial evidence at best. It wouldn't even be that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Loose policing going on here in Bristol.
So Wendelin comes to the house and basically tells Wallace to stay away from her.
Also, all the sheep are now living in their house for some reason.
Yeah. Just running amok.
Yeah.
What I love is that you see, like, through the newspaper, like, what's happening with Gromit. So he's on trial, and then he gets life in prison. And then, like, all the sheep are tearing up when they read that.
Yeah, and they're also destroying all the automations at the house at the same time. Yeah, they're telling the story of Gromit's trial on the front of the papers is so funny.
So did you spot the writing inside Gromit's cell?
I didn't spot the writing. I spotted the book, but tell me about the writing.
On the wall, it says Feathers was here.
I did see that, no. So did you notice the book?
Oh, it was like Crime and Punishment.
Yeah, but written by Fido Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's amazing. So Gromit gets food and a present, and the present is a jigsaw puzzle of sheep.
It's like a parcel delivered to him in the prison, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously that makes him cry. And he finally finishes the puzzle, and it has like a massive message on it, which I'm not sure how he didn't notice as he was doing it.
I think that's sort of the joke, though, isn't it? He's kind of, but if you look at him when he's doing it really nonchalantly, like he's bored. And then he kind of like looks down at it at the end and goes, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, because it's like Friday 8 p.m. Get ready, and it's Friday and 7:59.
Yeah, and then you just hear a saw cutting through the bars of the jail.
Yeah, and it's Sean just holding a little saw.
Bless Sean. So they go and hide in a field, and Wallace is like, "Oh, you're on the run now, boy." And then a lorry arrives on the scene, and we see that it's Preston and Wendelin. We haven't actually pointed out there that Wendelin isn't a name. I don't think. I think it's supposed to be a play on Windowline, because obviously she hires him to do the windows. I think. I've never heard the name Wendelin. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I've heard Gwendolyn.
Yes.
But not Wendelin.
I think it's a play on Windowline because they're window cleaners, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's very reluctant to steal sheep and almost like whacks Preston with her stick, basically saying, "I don't want to do this anymore." But Preston forces her into the van.
Yeah, she says when it was for the wall it was one thing, but what you're doing is evil. And then he's like, "No." And he just shoves her in with the sheep.
And then that's when she says, "You're not going to turn me into dog meat."
And that's when we've realised what's happening, yeah.
Yeah. So they start to chase after Preston, but Preston hid away and starts chasing after them. And this is where we get like another fun chase sequence.
I love that, yeah, because they jump on their motorbike and sidecar, and they're following him. Then the lights all go out, and they're like, "Where's he gone?" And then it turns out he's like just parked in a side thing, and now he's behind them. And Gromit and then Gromit has an idea. He uses the ladder. He sets the ladder up in the sidecar, climbs up to the top of it, and then grabs onto a lamppost and swings them round behind the lorry. It's very good.
And they're able to so there's like more things that happen. So the sidecar disconnects from the bike and it sends Gromit off like a pathway, and it looks like he's about to crash, but then he's able to turn the sidecar into like a little mini plane.
Yeah, so it goes off the edge of a cliff that says 2,000 foot drop, and as it's dropping, these little wings and a propeller come out of it, and then a little gun comes out the front as well, and it's the porridge gun, obviously, because that's where they were firing it from earlier. It's so good. And he flies off and we get like nice heroic cinematic music. It's great.
Yeah. So then Wallace uses the ladder to open the truck and gets all the sheep and Sean to climb onto the bike.
All across him as well, and he's acting as a bridge.
Yeah. And then, well, speaking of a bridge, a low bridge is about to come and hit them, so then they have to change formation so they're all able to get underneath it.
Yeah, so they do like a full-on circus pyramid, like a stunt pyramid, on a motorbike, and then, yeah, there's a low bridge, like you said, and they all kind of get themselves into a circle shape.
It's so amazing. But then Preston basically breaks the van, is able to get them all back in there, and takes them into his factory.
Yeah, so he hits the brakes and they all fly in. But just before that happens, Gromit loads up the porridge gun with porridge and starts firing at the windows and the mirrors on the truck to try to slow him down, but it doesn't work.
No. So they get inside the factory and they see that Preston built his own Nitomac.
Yeah, and they've gone for a secret entrance that's just behind a billboard, and that way Gromit loses them, so he's just flying around like Bristol town centre going, "Where the fuck are they gone?"
So everyone gets put into a knit machine except for Sean, who's able to escape, and then he's just able to flick some switches which activates Preston's dog meat like lighting.
So he's trying to turn the machine off, but the switches are for like a big sign outside, and Gromit's like, "Oh, they're in there." Right.
Yeah. And so he like speeds into the building by like just like turning the plane into basically a mini bullet. Well, not mini, but a massive bullet.
Well, yeah, he kind of pulls the wings back in, but leaves the propeller, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And flies through the wall, shearing his way through the wall.
And then he crashes into Preston, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, Preston's too big and strong, and he grabs the propellers, and the plane starts spinning around.
Yeah. It's like this is when you're realizing, oh, maybe he's not an actual dog.
Yeah, and Gromit launches out of the machine and lands on it, and it changes the setting to close shave, which is the name of the film. Yay!
Yes. So they suck. Preston into the machine, and they give him a close shave. But he breaks out, and then this is when we realise he's a robot dog made by Gwendolyn's father to protect her.
It's like a scene from Terminator as he bursts through the metal.
Yeah,
I think that was
that was actually my notes as well.
Terminator. It's another inspiration from another older IP. I think that is definitely based on the Terminator.
What I love is the machine puts the jumper like made from Preston's like fake fur on Preston.
Yeah, it could be cold.
And so then Gromit uses that opportunity to like swing kick Preston on towards like the grinding machine, and they basically they're like locked on like a track that heads towards it. So Gromit's trying to run back, and then Wallace accidentally sends everyone else onto the track.
Oh fucking hell! Yeah, Wallace is so stupid.
So they're all trying to run away from Preston, who's trying to run away from getting squished. But then Sean heroically swings down and knocks Preston into the machine, which jams the machine and just saves them all.
Yeah, breaks the machine and kills Preston. 2 for 1.
And then just puts like metal bits into the dog food containers.
I love that bit where all like the nuts and bolts get canned. We cut to Wallace and Gromit's house where Gwendolyn knocks on the door and she's got Preston under control, and it turns out Wallace has fixed him. He's on like wheels now, and he's on all fours, and he looks really dopey.
Yeah, he's been domesticated.
But there's a scene here that breaks Wallace's heart. What is it, Tim?
I know.
What is it?
Gwendolyn can't stand cheese.
And that's the end of that love affair.
It's like, not even Wensleydale?
Yeah, that's the first one. I was like, oh, they specifically focus on Wensleydale right here.
And Wallace just can't believe it's like, who doesn't like cheese?
I like we see that on the paper that Gromit's been exonerated as well.
Yeah. But they still have Sean in their house, but we'll never see him again. He'll be on a farm in his own series.
Yeah, well, they have to get rid of him at some point. They can't keep a sheep in the house. Come on, they're silly. Everything else in this has been so realistic.
Yeah. And then this is when they use the iconic theme. They use it as the end credits now.
Yeah. So Wallace goes to get some cheese, though, and he realises Sean's in the cheese thing and he's eating it all.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a close shave, and it was the one I weirdly remembered the least.
Yeah. I mean, the wrong trousers feels like the first two do feel like the ones that have been played the most.
Yeah.
There's a note on the commentary for this one that they didn't like it as much as they like the wrong trousers. They think they hit the pacing and the comedy and the notes right with the wrong trousers, and they think they don't think it's bad. They think it's good, but they think coming in after the wrong trousers was really difficult.
Yeah.
And they think they slightly missed the mark where the wrong trousers hit it belt like on the bullseye.
Yeah, because there's a lot of elements in here that feels almost very similar to wrong trousers. It almost felt like not necessarily a repeat, but they thought, oh, because all this worked, let's try it again. But it just misses the mark in like some moments.
Yeah, I mean, the first film doesn't really have an antagonist. The closest you get is the robot, but he's kind of not.
Yeah, he's just there being a robot.
Yeah, for kind of a minute and a half in the middle of the movie, he looks like he's hunting them down. But it's literally the bit where he sees them from the bit where he sees them cutting the moon to the point where he runs out of money the first time. He's the antagonist. That's it. Because after that, he sees the thing and clearly just wants to go to Earth to ski. So the first one doesn't have an antagonist, really. It's about their trip. The second one obviously has feathers. And then this one they thought, oh, the antagonist is the way to go. Well, they could have, in theory, they haven't done it since. I think all of them have an antagonist now. But they could have, in theory, done another, just a Wallace and Gromit story where they do something, that doesn't involve someone trying to kill them.
Yeah, I think it's that they think, because they struck such gold with wrong trousers, that's the format they have to go with now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, 13 years later,
Big old gap.
on Christmas Day 2008,
They finally got the
same
slot.
day we watched The Next Doctor,
Oh, great. I love The Next Doctor.
we got A Matter of Life and Death.
Dun, dun,
And
dun.
I remember being excited for this because this was post Were Rabbit.
Was it post Were Rabbit?
Yeah, this,
Oh, so I
if
don't know what.
remember correctly. Yeah, Were Rabbit was 2005.
So I don't know what other feature-length film they're talking about when they're talking about on the commentary for this.
Could have been Pirates or Caveman.
Oh yeah, maybe it's not a Wallace and Gromit one.
But yeah, this is post Were Rabbit, so I remember being really excited for this.
Oh, okay. I don't
So-
was I? I mean, I was already working an adult by this point. I think the kind of hype for this one, I missed it, and I think we're also in a wave of like disappointing sequels. So I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think I was that excited. I think I did sit and watch it on Christmas Day though.
I mean, I was 10 years old, so I was watching this on Christmas Day.
Yeah, if I weren't at the pub.
So this one opens up on a baker, and he's busy baking, and he turns around and he clearly recognises this person whose point of view that we're in, and he gets murdered.
With a rolling pin.
I think this is our actual first death in Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, it is, and there's a few in this one. Not that we see them all, but we're told
Well,
about them.
Yeah, we're immediately told straight away this is the 12th baker dead.
Yes, and then we get like a Hammer Horror style title card.
Yeah. It was more early Hitchcock, because this is what this is completely inspired by.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's just that
Like,
style,
even if you
that style of that font is very Hammer Horror.
yeah, because if you read the description for this on BBC iPlayer, it's just inspired by Hitchcock.
Fair enough. We cut to Wallace and Gromit, and now they're bakers,
Yeah.
and their business has a pun name. Did you like the pun name?
Top Bun.
Top Bun.
Yeah, I did. Also, I guess my first note was there's no fucking way this is all stop motion now, because it's so crisp.
It is, but it's done with way better technology. That's the thing.
Yeah, because it's so crisp. It's amazing.
Oh, there's a note I forgot to tell you actually. In The Wrong Trousers, when Wallace gets up to check the safe, he hits the table and everything judders, and it's kind of played as a little kind of just a thing like Wallace is clumsy, but it's actually because something happened overnight between the shoot and everything got moved.
Oh.
So they had Wallace knock it, so it stayed constant.
So it's also Wallace is fucking evil because his reaction to all these bakers being dead is more business for us.
Yeah, he also Gromit is doing everything again, and Wallace hasn't even come down to the clothes machine yet.
No.
And this time the clothes machine thing, the slides and that, is all through their new grand massive, which I assume is in their cellar where they're baking. So it's there's all this dough flying around,
Yeah.
and he goes kind of on alternate slides to the dough. Really beautifully animated.
Oh yeah, it's beautifully animated, but again, Wallace is just lazy. Just leaving Gromit to do everything.
Yeah, so they jump in a delivery van, and I'm like, oh, this will be where Wallace takes over. No, he just sits and eats breakfast and reads the paper while Gromit also drives.
Yeah, because you can have they have a toaster in the truck again.
Of course they do, yeah.
So then this is when Wallace sees a lady that he recognises from an ad years ago. This is Paella.
I love that her name's Paella. That's so stupid.
I know. But she seems to be speeding downhill on her bike. So this is the first time Wallace ever does something brave.
Yeah, he's thinking with his dick, isn't he?
Yeah. So he
Tim, your camera's gone
jumps
really
out the
dark,
van.
by the way.
Oh, has it?
Maybe it's just on my end, but if it looks alright on your end.
Oh god, no, I see what's happened. No. Technical difficulties, I love it.
There you go.
Right, there we go. Don't know what happened there.
Oh god, I hadn't really been paying attention. I hope that isn't like that for the whole thing. But if it
Yeah, I
is,
don't think it is, but
if it is, it is. We can pump it up and hope that it looks all right.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. So Wallace jumps out of the van and goes onto on Paella's bike, and then uses asks Gromit to throw tea cakes, which he then puts between both his legs and the wheel to force the brake.
To make a break, yeah.
Yeah. It's not enough though, because they do land into the crocodile pit at the zoo, where the bike was speeding.
So yeah, they go through the front of the zoo and hit a wall, and the wall is the enclosure for the alligators, and they fly down it.
But Gromit is able to save them in time.
Of course he is. Gromit jumps down, bungees down, saves them all, including Paella and her dog.
Yeah,
her
Fluffy.
dog Fluffles. I think it's Fluffles.
No, it's Fluffy, but she then keeps calling her Fluffles from then on.
So yeah, I only heard Fluffles.
Yeah. So then what we see is that as Wallace is talking to Paella, Gromit just tests the brakes, and they were working the entire time.
Yes, suspicious.
And there's a bit when Wallace.
Hey, maybe they had something jammed, and when they hit the wall, it fell out. Maybe.
So then Wallace asks Paella if she's still ballooning, which she takes a crack at about her weight.
And what he means is that on the advert she used to do for a dough company, a bread company, she was on a hot air balloon.
Which is interesting. It's an interesting way to advertise bread.
Yes, I don't really understand it, but it works for a plot point.
So, Gromit just doesn't trust her to begin with. But we see the next day that in the bakery, Wallace is moulding Paella out of bread. By her face.
Which sounds weird, because paella is obviously a Spanish rice-based dish.
Yeah.
But yes, he is creating a model of her.
So she shows up at the house, and this is where we see that Floofles is just terrified.
Yes. We also see, while he's doing the model, he looks at an old advert of her, where she is slim and on this hot air balloon. So
Wallace just leaves Gromit alone to do all the baking while he goes on a date with Paella.
Of course he does.
And then this is where we just see a montage of their relationship immediately developing.
Yes.
Because they go from touching hands to hands on the thigh to dancing in a restaurant to a Ghost reference.
What I love about this is we still have Gromit baking, so he goes to hot, hotter, super hot, or something like that, it says. And as it does it cuts to Wallace and Paella's relationship getting more intense, up to, like you said, the Ghost reference. But instead of moulding a vase on I can't remember what their spinning thing's called now. But instead of doing that, they're doing dough and making bread.
Yeah. So it gets to the point where now all the dog stuff has just been thrown out of the house, and Paella's completely redecorated the place to look more... Well, to have a women's touch is the best way to put it.
Oh, yeah.
And Gromit is obviously angry about that, but Floofles brings back Gromit stuff.
So Gromit stuff was all in the bin outside, which he realises. And what I love about Gromit's room, it's got the same wallpaper as it had before, but he's got a poster that says Citizen Canine, which I really thought was funny.
So Floofles brings back Gromit's things, and they accidentally touch hands. So now they're both blushing. Especially because...
Well, she clearly likes him. Gromit actually looks a little confused. She's giggling at him.
Yeah.
He's like, oh.
But it's also because he has a vinyl of Puppy Love. And he's like, yeah.
Yes. yeah, funny, yeah.
So Paella left her purse behind, and because it's raining, Wallace sends Gromit to give it back.
And she lives in this big, creepy, Cruella de Vil place, as if she wasn't already insinuating that she was evil.
And it's animated completely like it's Psycho, like the movie.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
And so Gromit sees a silhouette upstairs, so he creeps up those stairs, and then this is when he sees 12 hats and aprons on mannequins.
They're all numbered but there's a 13th one.
There's a 13th one, and he then sees her diary, and goes through it, and she has a photo of with all the dead bakers with an X marked through. And then on the final page, it's a photo of her and Wallace, so it's clearly obvious he's next.
You're on Wallace. Oh, by the way, now your camera's really overexposed.
I know. There we go. Changing that. Oops. Underexposed. I love technical issues. Right. Yeah, that's the best I can get it.
That'll work. Gromit knocks over all the mannequins, and Paella hears this and comes upstairs, and somehow he sorts out the room in like 4 seconds.
And he's just hiding on the light.
That's Gromit though, mate. Gromit's amazing.
Yeah, he's efficient. So then he's just hiding on the light fixture above Paella's bed, and he has to wait the entire night.
Yeah, and he's hanging basically from the chandelier by all 4 of his limbs, and he actually falls asleep.
Yeah.
But he stays up there asleep. But he kind of, as he wakes up, he drops, and he sees a flash of her in the bed, and then it flashes, and it's morning. Yeah. He hits the bed, and she's obviously got up and left the house.
Yeah, they did a nice little fake out.
Yeah, it was very good.
And then they do this really cool. Yes, I think that's like the first time like they ever do like a fake out kind of thing in this, which I think is like really cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's very good. Really nicely animated as well, with the lightning flash and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's like proper horror vibes.
Yeah, it's so good.
So Gromit grabs the diary, goes back to the house, but this is when he sees that Paella and Wallace are now engaged.
It's too late. You're too late, dog.
So he tries to. I love that because the reaction he has is like a dolly zoom, which is like the infamous like vertigo shot.
Yeah, like that crash zoom. Yeah, and this is another one of those things where it's like the expression on this little plasticine dog's face is incredible.
So she is able to grab the diary from Gromit without Wallace noticing, and she just throws it into the fire. So all that evidence is just now gone. Yeah,
she sees what it is and is like, no.
And
we see Gromit getting to work on an invention.
Yeah, he builds a security system, which is like one of the most like genius things I've seen. And like he has like a little security hat as well.
It's adorable. He's made like a metal detector gate like you have at the airport or on
TSA.
Clubs sometimes have it. But he's also got like you said, he's got this little security hat. It looks a bit like a pilot's hat that says security, you know, the kind of one you mean.
Yeah.
And it's just so cute. And then as Paella comes in with Fluffles, Gromit like checks all her stuff.
Yeah, gives her a pat down and everything.
Yeah, but nothing sets off the detector.
But then Gromit sees that Paella has made soup for Wallace, so he immediately thinks the soup is poisoned. So he just like throws it out.
And we realise that he's also got all of the metal implements in his dog house as well. We see that.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of like the knives, and so like Wallace can't even have his soup. Yeah. Paella then bites herself so Wallace can't see and blames Gromit, and Wallace believes her. The fuck?
Like immediately, it's like Gromit has never shown a violent bone in his body, and now you're like straight for it.
What I find really funny is he muzzles him, and he's like, "What are you muzzling for? We've never seen his mouth open."
Yeah.
I know the idea is that he's bitten her, but have you ever seen his mouth open? I haven't.
Nope. So he gets muzzled and chained to like the sink, so he's being forced to like do the dishes, which he probably would have been forced to do anyway.
Yeah, he's like, well, I was going to do this fucking anyway.
So like that. So now they're above Gromit and like I don't know what floor this is of the house, but surrounded by
the
gears.
Recesses of their bread factory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's part,
and she's trying to push Wallace off. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh no, my heel is in the gear over there on top of this, like on the other side of this plank. Wallace, grab my heel for me so she can push him off." But as Wallace ducks, she just gets hit by a flour bag out of the attic.
And she snaps at Wallace and throws back the engagement ring and says how much she hates bread and just leaves.
Yeah.
And wasn't it Fluffles who threw the bag, the flour bag?
No, that's later.
No, oh yeah.
No, this was just like one.
Way, yeah.
Just like it just hits her.
Coincidence that saves him.
Yeah. And there's so Wallace and Gromit are having like tea together because Wallace is not upset, and he just goes, "I'm not a fruitcake, am I, lad?" And you can see the animation of Gromit going, "What do I say?" Pat.
It's so good. Yeah, so she calls him a fruitcake before that, and he reassures him. Instead of being like, no, he just goes, pat, yep, okay.
But she's now back at the door, and it's to me like, "I'm sorry, we're getting back together. I made cake." And she like highlights to Gromit that Floofles is unwell, so she can't be here right now. So that makes Gromit run back to the house in order to find her, and he thinks he sees her in the. Yeah, and he thinks he sees her in the dog bed, but he gets closer and closer, and then it turns out it's just like one just like monkey with the symbol thing.
Homer's brain.
Yeah. So she what are my notes? So yeah, she throws them both away into like a wardrobe, or you think it's a wardrobe, and basically says, the cake is a bomb.
Yeah, Paella throws the two dogs. Yeah.
And she's like, "I'm going to kill 13, a baker's dozen." But this is when we see the dogs fly away on the balloon because she put them in the balloon storage room.
Like, it's all the advertising stuff from her days as a model, isn't it? Is in this room.
Yeah.
They're like, bye, and they just fly off.
So Grom is able to
swing.
So Grom is able to swing through the window as he's trying to like save Wallace, and then like the disguise of the cake of the bomb falls off and it reveals it's a bomb. So now Wallace finally figures it out.
We hadn't actually covered that. She leaves a present earlier on and says it's a cake, doesn't she? And so he's like, "Oh, we'll have that with our tea later." And yeah, there's a candle that's already in it, and the candle clearly has a fuse on top, not a wick. He still lights it.
So Paella gets back into the house. He's like, "Well, I'm just gonna kill you both now," and Floofles bites Paella. And Grom is just like running around trying to figure out where to like throw the bomb. He wants one window. It's like a pond with like ducks in it. He goes to the other side. It's nuns with orphaned kittens. And he runs back into the Yorkshire border.
Yeah, and that's where he decides he's going to throw it. It's like, yeah, I'll throw it into Yorkshire. Fuck it.
So he gets knocked back by Paella, but the bomb rolls out the window and lands like on the windmill. But then Fluffy comes in with the Aliens 2 reference.
I knew it was an Aliens 2 reference, but my personal favourite reference is, it reminds me of Doctor Who on the Titanic. Where Astrid / Kylie Minogue pushes the bad guy using a forklift.
Well, funny because it was only a year before that as well, so it could have been.
Yeah. I'm sure it was an Aliens reference, really, but that... I feel like in Doctor Who it was an Aliens reference, but my brain immediately goes to Doctor Who because I've just watched it so much.
Everything's a Doctor Who reference these days.
Yeah, that or Simpsons.
So as Fluffy is fighting with Paella, she accidentally knocks back Wallace on the windmill, so he lands into his bedroom. Then the bomb lands in with him, and it rolls down into his trousers because he rolls through the contraption again.
Yeah.
So they try to figure out, oh, how are we going to save him? So they increase the dough pressure of the hose and fill up his trousers as a way to muffle the explosion.
Saving Wallace's life with dough. All this time, Paella's flying away on the hot air balloon.
But what I love is like that bomb still would have blown Wallace up.
Well, the fact that his bare ass is there and it's like scarred, it's like, yeah, that would have killed him, but this is a cartoon,
Yeah.
so, well, in some respects, it's a cartoon.
So they see Paella on the balloon flying away, and Wallace is like, no, you're too heavy. And she slowly drops down into the crocodile enclosure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an alligator pit, and she obviously gets killed in the...
Yeah, because then the balloon flies up again, and she's not there. Well,
She flies up without the seat attached as well.
Yeah. So Fluffy and Gromit embrace, but Fluffy decides, I have to leave.
We get Gromit crying for the third film in a row.
I know. This movie's just obsessed with him crying.
It's like Park was like, you know what will make everyone sad if the dog cries.
And then Wallace like, it's okay, lads, we'll go deliver some bread. They open the garage door and Fluffy's just there in the driveway. So...
What I like about this is, Wallace goes, we've both been dragged through it. At least yours wasn't a serial killer, lad.
Me?
Fucking
He's
idiot.
not wrong.
No, he's not.
But they invite Fluffy into the van and she picks out the Puppy Love LP, puts it in, and they drive away to deliver bread.
I love that they've got a vinyl player in the car.
Yeah.
There's a little joke at the end, which I thought was really funny. So they're driving off with Puppy Love playing. Gromit is driving, and they nearly crash. It like swerves, and Wallace says, "Gromit, both hands on the wheel." I'm like, Gromit, you dirty bastard! What are you doing?
Right, I know. Cheeky bastards. So I hadn't seen this one since it first came out back in 2008, but I really enjoyed it, even though you obviously know Paella is the bad guy. I just found it to be a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, because I remember not loving it. I still think it's the weakest of the four.
Yeah,
I still think it lacks the charm of the first couple, and I think she is like the weakest bad guy. Also, I think something about the crisp animation kind of makes it lose its charm as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also wondering, because having like a main villain like who speaks is kind of the killer for it, because the charm of Feathers McGraw is that he doesn't talk.
He's expressionless the entire time.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it more fun to watch him, as opposed to this. And also, like, it's based around Wallace's character, and Wallace isn't the nicest character, so you're not really rooting for him. You're kind of rooting for him because he's Gromit's owner.
He's the biggest jerk in this film. This is where he's the worst.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. It is a good film. It is good. It's fun. It's got some good moments in it, but it is the weakest of the four.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm still excited for the return of Feathers McGraw in Avenge Its Most Foul.
Is that what it's called? I hadn't actually looked.
Yeah, it's a clever name.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. So, Bobby, what is my recommended reading for the next episode?
Hey Tim, you know how I love sci-fi?
Only a bit.
Hey Tim, you know how I like cartoons and comedy?
First time hearing of this.
Hey Tim, we're gonna do Invader Zim.
Yes.
Fucking love Invader Zim. This is difficult because most of the episodes are divided, like there's 20-minute episodes that each contain a 10-minute episode within. So I will stick to doing it like that. But we'll do the first episode, which I think is the longer 20-minute one. It's called The Nightmare Begins. And sorry, what I mean when I said sorry, we're going to do those double episodes. We might pick different ones from different areas.
Okay.
There's one called Dark Harvest.
Cool.
There is one called Nanozim. So bearing in mind these are 10 minutes odd each, so we're up to about 40 minutes with the one so far. We'll do Bad Rubber Piggy. And we'll do Dib's Wonderful Life of Doom. That's an hour's worth of Invader Zim.
Amazing. I'm excited for this.
I will send you those because I know you won't remember.
No, I will not.
Awesome. You can follow me on the old socials, Tim. You can find me on the Instagram at bdavies_creative. You can also find me on the at Twitter, formerly known as X site, at bdaviescreative, no underscore. Mostly talking about wrestling and stuff like that, and sharing my own designs that was put up by the Purpose Wrestling Twitter. Yeah, I do a lot of that. Just blowing my own horn, getting myself over.
And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at the Tim Martini. I just post dumb shit on there, and sometimes promote my music when it's time to do so.
But mostly dumb shit, yeah.
Oh yeah, 90% dumb shit.
Good.
And you can follow this whole podcast on all social medias at CC Society Pod, or search in Cult Classic Society Podcast. And also, if you're on Spotify, be like, oh, I want to watch these guys. Or you can watch us on here, or if you want, you can follow us on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube and you go, I want to listen to these guys, go onto Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're on a podcasting site, come on, give us a little review. Go on.
Yeah, give us a little subscribe. That'd be nice.
It would be most appreciated. Well, I've been Tim Martini.
Tim, I've got some bad news. We've got no cheese. But I do have some wood, some metal, and some fuel. I'm going to go build a ship. You coming?
To the moon!
To the moon!
And we'll see you guys next time.